I think now it's a wonderful opportunity for us to have a little chat with Pat this morning. We do this every day, really, every Monday through Friday, little chat with Pat.
Hello. Today I'm doing a chat with Pat, but it's a chat with the audience, if that makes sense. I wanted to focus today on St. Joseph the Worker. The feast was yesterday, and May is Mary's month, but we do start with the Feast of St. Joseph. And if you remember, if you're a listener of the program, you might have remembered Marcus Peter talking about one of the Pope's documents on Joseph during the year of St. Joseph. And I thought about doing that, but I think I'm going to save that for Father's Day because there's great stuff in there about Father's Day. But I did look up a homily he gave, Pope Francis. I like to, this is part of our remembering him. And he gave a homily on the feast of St. Joseph the Worker, and it was called Work is the Vocation of Man. So I wanted to use a little bit of what he had to say, but also maybe share some insights for us today. Work, I think, a lot of times in our society is almost seen as a dirty word, right? Like, oh, I got to go to work, and it is that sense that we look forward to retirement. When can I retire, right? I want to retire so bad. I want to do this. I want to do that. And so sometimes we don't have a good understanding of work. And I think this homily is wonderful because Francis reminds us that God created, right? And the Bible uses the word work to express this activity of God. So when we say God created, that was God's work, right? And it says he completed the work he had been doing, so he rested on the seventh day. So when we go back to Genesis, we get a real sense of that work is supposed to be a good thing, a fulfilling thing, something that gives us purpose, it gives us meaning. And so Francis points out in his homily that work is none other than the continuation of God's work. So when we go to work, human work is man's vocation received from God at the end of the creation of the universe. So work, Pope Francis said, makes the human person similar to God because with work, man is a creator, capable of creating many things like a family, those kinds of things, right? So we participate in God's work. I think that's an amazing thing. And he says work has goodness within itself and creates the harmony of things. So it involves man in everything. So I gave a talk a while back to a group of elementary students during Vocation Week. And I looked at the whole idea of what is a vocation, what is a profession, what is a job. But I started with that first, our first calling is the work of discipleship. We're called to be a disciple. Then I talked about vocation, and in our church we usually talk about vocation as a state of life, a state of being in life, whether I'm ordained or I'm married or I'm single or a vowed religious, right? So it is a state of being, and within that state of vocation, we have a profession of some sort, right? The idea that it might be employment inside the home, outside the home, or in any job that we may do. So the idea is, I think, is to understand how they all fit together. To me, it's almost like those nesting dolls you've seen, right? Where one fits inside of the other, right? But I think the one that holds all of it is our discipleship, the work of discipleship. That should be our first and foremost work, right? I think some people think, well, I'm baptized and I'm done. No, discipleship is work, and work in a good way, because we are called to follow the Lord, to cooperate with the work of God. And so discipleship, and Joseph was certainly a disciple. He listened. The dreams that he had, he followed the word. So this sense of vocation, or of discipleship, of listening to God, then moves us into vocation. What is God calling me? How is he calling me to live out my life? Is it within in an ordained manner with priesthood, diaconate, bishop? Is it within marriage? Is it within a single state of life, whether that be a consecrated single state, or someone who just feels called to live their life in that state of being, or whether it's a vowed religious? So this again is kind of the way we express our discipleship, right? I'm following the Lord, I'm working with the Lord, and I'm either working with the Lord in my married life, or raising my family, or in my vowed life. So all those things that I talked about, right? And then we move from that into maybe a profession or a job. But that too is a part of our discipleship, and it works with our vocation. So the idea is, if I have a profession or a job that I'm doing, how am I building up the kingdom by doing that job? How am I bringing beauty into the world, right? So it is this sense that work gives us a sense of dignity. And the Pope pointed that out. And I just want to kind of end with this story. And I'll make a comment on it. But the Pope says, and this is a quote from him, "Once a man went to Caritas, a man who had no employment, and went to ask for help for his family. An employee of Caritas, who gave him something to eat, said to him, 'At least you can take some food home.' 'But this is not enough for me,' was the answer. 'I want to earn the food I take home.' He was lacking the dignity. That dignity of making the bread himself through work and taking it home. The dignity of work, which is trampled on, unfortunately." I think the Pope brings this out beautifully in many of his writings, especially about the poor. Dignity isn't just about giving the poor things. It is also realizing they have something to share and to give. And work is about dignity. It's about giving people the ability to use their gifts and talents in a way to give glory to God. So I think in this, as we reflect back on St. Joseph, the worker, we see him so often with tools in his hands, right? That he was a carpenter. It wasn't like, well, Mary, I got to get up and go to work. He saw work as a way to use the talents God gave him. God has given all of us a great wealth of talents. So in your employment, in your vocation, in your discipleship, see them all linked together. Don't see them as separate. See them as all coming together. It is the thing that God has worked and given us a share in his work. And those are the three ways, think of them as nesting, the nesting dolls, that we too can show God, thank you for the many gifts you have given us, and I will use them for your glory.